Hey, welcome everyone to a review of the JLab Go Pop ANC truly wireless noise cancelling earbuds. Now if you want to see the written version of this review, you can find a link to my website in the video description. Now one of the key selling points about this is that it's how inexpensive it is, which I'll get into right off the bat. Even with that said, the question is it still worth the $30? Or is it going to perform terribly, and is it worth getting something cheap on Amazon or Temu or whatever other website you're looking at? I'm going to try to answer that question here and now. So here in Canada, they're priced at $40, whereas in the United States, it is priced at $30. Although to get it in Canada, as of this video recording, it's only available on the JLab website. So I had to pay premium shipping to get it from them. There's no other way to get it, which costs $20, which is half the cost of them here in Canada. My wife is not too happy to spend half the amount of money on shipping them here. She thinks I'm bad with money, especially because I spent our life savings on lumber and hay, because I was thinking we'll go back to the 1800s system, where back in the 1800s there was a barter system. Although Trump is coming back into power as the president of the United States, is going to hold heavy tariffs on us here in Canada, so my lumber and hay investment is going to pay off quite well, I'm sure, because Trump's mind works like that of the 1800s. I'll have to work on a barter system soon enough. For wireless connectivity, it's using Bluetooth 5.3, which is surprising. It's one of the latest standards for such inexpensive earbuds. In terms of wireless range, JLab says to get about 30 feet. I was able to get the same 30 feet, but with a couple of walls in between while kind of going through various rooms in my house. So a bit better than what JLab advertises. It does support dual connectivity, so you can connect to your cell phone and laptop or tablet, whatever, at the same time. Cell phone rings, it'll prioritize the call and pause your audio content on your tablet, for example. Works well in that regard. As for how many devices you can keep in memory before having to make the Bluetooth learn and pair all over again, I'm not sure. There's nothing in the documentation. But in my testing, I was able to get 3 devices, so it's pretty good. So accessories included in the box is a rather unique story here. There's no USB charging cable included separately because it's literally attached to the case, which I'll go over shortly later on. And that's a USB-C cable. There are 3 different sizing gel tips for various ear shapes. One pair is already set on the earbuds themselves. And there's no power adapter included, which is pretty typical of most earbuds, as I expect you to just, plug it into your cell phone charger or plug it into a computer, which is how I typically do. The earbuds themselves are sporting a minimalistic design and are very compact, which is ideal for most people. Despite the budget-friendly price, the earbuds are sporting touch controls and not physical buttons. More on that later. Going back to the case, it looks simple and slim, making it unobtrusive to place in a pocket. And as I mentioned very quickly before, the unique thing about the case is that it has a USB-C charging cable affixed to the case and it cannot be removed. I like this design as you never have to look for a cable. It's just conveniently there, and you can just charge it whenever you want on whim. And the product and engineering team did a great job here because the charging cable fits inside a closed groove. So if you put the case in your pocket, it's not gonna poke out and annoy you. So for comfort, I have used them with and without glasses for about 4 hours at a time without glasses in that particular test. And I never felt any discomfort whatsoever. The footprint is so small that I didn't even know I was wearing them half the time. That's how surprisingly comfortable they are. And because the physical design of the earbuds is so tiny, they don't push my top of my ear back when I'm wearing glasses, so even with glasses it felt comfortable. And of course, as mentioned during the accessories part, there are 3 different gel tip fittings for various ear shape sizes, so you're bound to get a pretty reasonable good fit in your ear. They're also very pleasant to use during workouts because of their minimal design, and if you're concerned about getting your earbuds sweaty and a little nasty, they're $30 US. It's hard to complain that anything bad might happen to them. They do come in various colors, the black, as I have here, fuchsia, and teal. The case and the earbuds together weigh a very light 30 grams. The earbuds themselves are IP5 rated, which basically means they're sweat and splash proof, not to be submerged underwater. There's no information about the case being, resistant to anything, so most likely it's not the case, so try not to get the case wet in any way at all. There are official ear tip replacements available in case you lose the ones that come in the box with the Go Pop. They're on the JLab website. Interestingly enough, they also sell a cleaning kit which can be used for the earbuds themselves and other various electronic accessories. Now, as I mentioned, they're using touch controls, so over on the left earbud, a single tap for volume down, double tap for voice assistant, hold to cycle between ANC levels, which I'll explain ANC later, and then triple tap to cycle between equalizer modes. On the right earbud, a single tap for volume up, double tap for play pause, long press for next track, and triple tap for equalizer change again. Those are a lot of controls. It's confusing, but you can customize them thankfully in the app to cater to your needs, especially because there's 2 tap commands for changing the equalizer setting, which I think is a bit overkill, but again, you can customize it. So the control commands might seem confusing, but you can customize them in the app, so it's not that bad. You'll learn to memorize them rather quickly based on your personal preference. The confusing thing is that the manual states that you have to touch the buttons, or press the buttons rather, to activate the commands. Except there are no buttons. As I mentioned, they're touch controls. So the manual is very confusing because the first time I used them, I kept pressing it really hard and like, why isn't the button pressing? Only for me to realize after kind of hurting my ear a little bit, they're touch-based controls. Could you imagine you're the type of person that follows instructions to an overkill amount and you're pressing everything so hard, you start damaging your eardrums, but you see the girl that you've been in love with for the past year and you go over to her and you confess your love, but all of a sudden you're feeling like dizzy and lightheaded because you damaged your eardrum. Of course, your vertigo's off. All of a sudden your ears start to bleed out and blood starts trickling out and your eyes start rolling out and you start twitching and she's like, oh my God, what's happening? Call an ambulance. Also, I don't love you. You met my husband last week. But you don't remember meeting her husband because you suffered so much blood loss, so you don't remember what you were saying to her in the first place. All that happened because you followed instructions too well. That's right, the moral of the story is do not follow instructions for these earbuds or anything else in life for that matter. It can have dangerous consequences. Back to reality land, there is a smart assistant capability also available. Using it with Google Assistant on my Android device, it's very responsive and works well, except the problem is when I activate the Google Assistant in command, it doesn't have the tone chime prompt like doo-doo to let me know that Google Assistant is listening. So I just have to guess that it's listening and speak my command. That's rather unfortunate it happens here. Now, one thing I have to mention that's not expected in such an inexpensive price tag, but I'm gonna mention it anyway, there's no passive play pause. So basically when you take the earbuds out, it'll automatically pause content, we put them back in, it'll play the content. Not here, but I should mention it anyway. Okay, noise canceling. So this is an interesting one because again, JLab is advertising as one of the most inexpensive wireless earbuds on the market with noise canceling technology. How does it perform? Well, there is noise canceling and you can adjust it. You can adjust the ANC level and transparency level. ANC stands for active noise canceling technology. At maximum capability to cancel out noise, it's not that great from you expect from audio technology. At this price, it works well, but not the best. So what I basically mean is that when I took my son swimming and I was sitting with the other parents around me, we're all kind of watching our kids, I could hear parents around me talking to each other with ANC at max level. I could just kind of make out what they were saying with no content playing. I could hear everyone's conversation easily. When I started playing music, even at 35, 40% volume, I couldn't hear anything what was being said around me. So in that regard, in a public setting with people chatting around me, it worked okay when you start playing content. Where I don't recommend this in any way at all is say somewhere really loud, like traveling on a plane. The noise from the plane engine will just drown out all noise canceling technology and probably the audio coming through, especially if you're listening to news or a podcast on a plane. It's not gonna work out that well. But it works well at this price point. Transparency, so basically it'll project sound into the microphone so you can hear your surroundings better. It works, but it's weird. I guess the easiest way to explain it is if you've ever been to a playground, a kid's playground with a slide and the tube that goes around in a circle, someone yells from the top and you're at the bottom and it sounds like it's kind of going in a loopy tunnel. That's kind of what it sounds like. So you can have some conversation, but it's not the best experience. Overall, it's hard to complain at this price point. You can turn off all technologies, so no transparency, no ANC, but you'll hear almost everything around you. All it does is save a little bit more battery, and we'll talk about that shortly. There's no side tone available, so basically that means is that when you're in a phone call, you can hear your surroundings and how loud you're speaking. That's not available on these earbuds, but again, not expected at such a price point. Okay, so JLab says that with ANC on, the earbud, each battery charge will last about 6 hours. My testing it actually averaged at 6.5 hours, so better than JLab's claim. With regular earbud mode, so no extra technology, no transparency, no ANC, JLab says it'll last about 7 hours. In my testing, I got better at 8 hours per charge. So the number of times you can fully charge the earbuds in the case altogether, so fully charged, and use them is 3 times and a tad bit. So JLab says, hey, with ANC, you'll get total 21 hours of earbud usage. In my testing out 22 hours, it's pretty good. With no ANC and no transparency, JLab says you'll get a total earbud charge with the case of 24 hours. In my testing out better at an excellent 28 hours. To charge the earbuds fully within the case, it takes about 2 hours according to JLab, and that's pretty accurate in my testing as well. To charge the earbuds, you kind of just let them slide into the case and they'll magnetically connect and start charging. Charging, of course, is achieved, again, as I mentioned, as a USB-C cable that's attached. It does not support wireless charging, the case itself, of course. And to charge the case, JLab says it'll take about 2 hours. Again, in my testing, it's fairly accurate. Okay, so the audio that you're hearing now is from the earbuds themselves in a quiet setting, letting you hear what they sound like. I'm gonna switch over to a noisy setting with the camera microphone and then compare it to the earbuds that they can cancel out a lot of the background noise. and then we'll do a wind test with the fan sitting about 4 feet in front of me off the camera. Okay, so we're now listening to audio with the noisy environment through the camera microphone. We're switch over to the earbuds, and I'm just going to keep talking so you can see if it's canceling a lot of background noise, and I'll stop talking for a few seconds to see what it sounds like. And now lastly, I'm doing a wind test with the fan sitting over there. I'm just turning in various directions to see if any wind noise cancels out, muffles out my voice or not. Okay, so audio. This is another interesting point, right? How do they perform? Are they rubbish or are they worth the cheap price tag? Well, in terms of audio codecs, I don't know what it supports. There's nothing really listed, so I would assume it's the regular standard AAC and SBC. JLab doesn't list anything. Okay, but you know what? Moving past that, how's the quality? That's what matters. So out of the box, it's interesting here. Out of the box, it's not bad at $30 US. It performs pretty adequately at this price point. The interesting thing is though, it's not using a flat profile out of the box, because when you start up the app, it's using the JLab signature, which has the equalizer slightly adjusted, and it performs rather well. What if you were to put everything flat in the equalizer? It's utterly terrible. It doesn't sound good at all. Do yourself a favor and just stick to the JLab signature if you just like it the way it sounds out of the box. Now, what about tweaking the equalizer? Okay, so here's a mixed bag. Let me start with the custom preset settings. One is the JLab signature, sounds pretty good. One is a more bass-focused equalizer setting. I was actually pleasantly surprised as a bass enthusiast myself how well they perform. Now, they're not going to be thumping in your ear at this price point, that's okay, but they give the songs that I've been listening to a lot more energy, like 24 Hours by Teka, I don't know how to say his name. Anyway, and using something like the JLab signature, I found that highs weren't that exemplified, but they sounded pretty good. Vocals sounded much better than I expected. They sounded excellent with the JLab custom settings. It didn't really matter which one I used. Vocals always sounded great, better than expected at this price point. What's disappointing here is that when I customize the equalizer, it sounds like rubbish, right? It sounds like utterly terrible. It doesn't matter which settings I used, tried to increase bass, vocals, or highs, or a mixed bag, it didn't work. So what I tried to do was copy JLab's preset equalizer onto the custom one to see, okay, will it replicate the sound signature? It didn't. Even though I replicated it exactly as one of their custom preset equalizers, it still sounded terrible. So using a custom equalizer, there's something weird going on with the app. I think this is a software firmware issue that could hopefully be fixed with an update. It doesn't sound that good. For now, you're better off using one of the default sound signature or bass, boost, whatever, custom preset equalizers. They sound much better and they show the true value of the audio capabilities of these earbuds. Does sound get impacted with wearing glasses? Absolutely not. As I mentioned earlier, they don't really shift my ears in any way because the earbuds are so tiny. It sounds exactly as the same it would whether I'm wearing glasses or not. We're in the app. I'm not going to dive into everything because I kind of showed you some stuff earlier, like the equalizer, for example. But going into noise canceling is, as I showed earlier, you have ANC control, the equalizer, which I'm not going to go to because I already demonstrated. Touch controls is what you want to do in terms of customizing commands. So if you were to tap on something, you see the list is pretty extensive. I love the amount of customization you have here. It really suited to your needs, especially because touch controls do make it a bit challenging to set the correct kind of controls that you want. There's a music mode or movie mode. I don't notice a difference with either one. I always just leave it on music mode. Safe hearing allows you to set decibel levels so you don't damage your hearing too much. This is something rarely found in most headphone manufacturers as well. I'm glad to see it's here. It's a nice touch, to be honest. And of course, you can check for firmware updates. My JLab is just, user manual, for example, the JLab store, ambient sounds, so you can see just some white noise, if you will, to kind of help you feel relaxed, maybe perhaps even fall asleep. And going to settings, there's not much in here, and that's pretty much it for the software side. To conclude, I have to say that I'm really impressed with these earbuds. JLab is really trying to make something very budget friendly, and considering the economy is terrible in many parts of the world, including especially here in Canada, I have to give them really good props for it. I think that this is one really worth checking out if you're on a tight budget or maybe want to get something that you don't mind putting through a rough grind, maybe during gym training sessions. Definitely worth checking out. I'm really happy with what JLab has done, and I hope they continue this type of cycle of inexpensive products.